Yes, I know. Football season is over. The NFL just ended, and college football ended early January. We do have some spring FCS football, if I do mention, coming up. But for the most part, football is over. What we all really, really care about is over, and it's sad. I know it sucks, but that only means one thing. The football content does not stop. The football content never stops. I can tell you that, because just around the corner from the Super Bowl, we have the combination where college football meets NFL football, and we have one of the greatest nights of our whole year on this one night, or I guess you could say weekend, and that is the NFL draft. Guys, I am so excited for the NFL draft this year. Tons of talent, tons of great players in it, and I personally cannot wait to get this started, because today I got one of many mock drafts coming. This one, I'm doing an early prediction at what I think will happen in the NFL. My plan is to do another one on what I would personally do for each of these teams with their pick. There's no trades in this draft, just straight up as the picks as they are now. We know they could move because of trades and everything, especially with Deshaun Watson still in the market. Maybe a team wants to make a push for a quarterback up here. You got like Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields. Maybe a team wants to jump up, Trey Lance, grab one of those guys. We'll have to see. But for this video specifically, we are just doing the regular picks as they are right now. Guys, if you love football as much as I do, as you can see, I got a whole football jersey set up behind me. I'm a huge Chicago Bears fan, huge Carolina Panthers fan, big fan of both of those teams, and I cannot wait to show you guys this mock draft, because I'm telling you, it's a good one. And it's just, even though the NFL season only just ended, I've been looking at mock drafts ever since the college football season started. Like, I am obsessed with mock drafts. I love the NFL draft, so I have a bit of knowledge on what I think the draft is going to look like, and I'll show you guys right now. So here we go. Starting off on the clock, our number one first pick, we all know that's to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I have to go with Trevor Lawrence, quarterback from Clemson. I hate him because I'm a massive South Carolina Gamecocks fan. Well, I don't want to say I hate him, because it's never good to hate someone just because of football. I'd say I dislike him because of how good he is, and because of how frequently I see them winning and how often they beat South Carolina and run the brakes off of them. But Trevor Lawrence is the best player in this draft. I have to give credit where credit is due, and the Jaguars undoubtedly are going to take him there. Number two, shaking up in the NFL right now, this is what I think is going to happen. This isn't what I want to happen or what I think should happen. This is what I think is going to happen. And this guy's draft stock has shot up recently. I have no clue why, but the New York Jets taken at quarterback with the number 2 pick. I have Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson, quarterback at BYU. He's an amazing player. Don't get me wrong, BYU had an amazing season, but you have so much QB talent and everything. Zach Wilson's still a great player, but is he number 2 worthy? That's going to be the big question, and will he live up to the hype in New York if they end up taking him? Number 3, the Miami Dolphins. Wide receiver is a need, and you have a huge pick here for wide receiver, because it's either Devontae Smith or Jamar Chase. Either of those two guys, I have no clue who it's going to be. Personally, this is such a 50-50. It could go either way. But in what I think will happen in the NFL, I think that Jamar Chase is going to be going to the Miami Dolphins at number 3, wide receiver out of LSU. Obviously didn't play the last season, but that's what I think is going to happen. Next, coming up with the 4th pick, the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons are looking for a quarterback, and it just so happens in this specific situation that a homeboy from Georgia falls in their lap at number 4. Easily, this guy has the most boom potential, at least in the top 5 of the most boom potential out of anyone in this draft. Of course, I'm talking about the Ohio State quarterback, Justin Fields. Yes, we saw it in the game against Northwestern. He struggles sometimes, but then you go to a game, his next game against Clemson, which the same people who say Justin Fields is not an elite or good quarterback in college football are the same people that says Clemson has one of the best defenses in all of college football. Well, Justin Fields absolutely lit up that Clemson defense in that semifinal game. He can spin the ball. His throws are beautiful. Justin Fields, 110%, has a ton of boom potential. Will he be able to make the most of it? I know Ohio State quarterbacks are risky. You saw what happened with Dwayne Haskins. He's now with the Pittsburgh Steelers. It didn't all work out for him. But I think that Justin Fields has the talent and has the capability to be a really good player in this league. So that's why I have him at number 4. Number 5, Penei Sewell for the Cincinnati Bengals. They need to protect Joe Burrow. This guy is one of the top 3 prospects in all of the draft. I have no problem coming out here and saying that. It just so happens that the 4 teams before the Bengals all need quarterbacks or offensive weapons or skill players. Penei Sewell is going to go to the Bengals and be a huge help for Joe Burrow in a very, very, very struggling offensive line for the Bengals. Number 6, it's easy to take this one. You're taking the wide receiver that the Dolphins don't take in this situation, and that is, of course, the Heisman winner, DeVonta Smith. DeVonta Smith at number 6, I think will go great in Philly. Philly, I don't know what's going to happen with the quarterback position. You have Jalen Hurts. Is he going to be your guy at Alabama? Obviously, Devontae's worked with Jalen Hurts before early on in the 2017 season, obviously up until that national championship game where things kind of fell through after that point, but who knows? You could see Mr. DeVonta Smith and Jalen Hurts back at it together. Number 7, Detroit Lions. Again, they're going to be going after a wide receiver, and who else to take but DeVonta Smith's counterpart at Alabama before he got injured. Jalen Waddle was a really, really electric player in all of college football. One of the best wide receivers on the board, and I think that he is definitely a great fit for the Detroit Lions and what will probably be Jared Goff's new offense. Number 8, the Carolina Panthers. Obviously one of my favorite teams. You got the jersey behind me, Christian McCaffrey. Again, this isn't what I think they should do. This is what I think they will do. And what I think the Panthers will do is take Trey Lance, quarterback from North Dakota State. They need a quarterback. Yes, they need a quarterback. Trey Lance, though, in my opinion, he's a great player. I love North Dakota State. He's a great player, don't get me wrong. But it just feels like a really, really risky pick for number 8 with some of the talent still left on the board. Again, that's just my opinion. If you're a Panthers fan or any fan of college football, I'd love to hear your opinions on what you think the Carolina Panthers should do in this position, because that's something that I have really been going back and forth between in my mind. Number 9, the Denver Broncos. Broncos need a cornerback. Who else to take but Patrick Surtain, star cornerback for the Alabama Crimson Tide. I think he would be a great fit in Denver. Obviously, the wide receivers in that division are really, really good. You have Hill, you have Kelsey, you have Hardman, you have Keenan Allen, you have Henry Ruggs now, so he could be going up against his old teammate frequently. You got a lot of good wide receivers in that AFC West division, so I think the Broncos taking Patrick Surtain definitely makes a lot of sense. Coming in at number 10, the Dallas Cowboys. One of the most talented players they're going to grab here. One of the most talented players in the whole draft. One of the most freakish athletes in the whole draft. And of course, I'm talking about Kyle Pitts, tight end from Florida. This guy is going to be the steal of the draft no matter where he goes. I guarantee you this guy will be the steal of the draft because his stock, there's just not teams like he's an easy top 10 pick. He should be higher than he is at this 10th spot, but just due to the needs of all the other teams, someone like the Cowboys who, let's say last season, they go and grab CeeDee Lamb because they know the talent that they had there. They didn't necessarily need a wide receiver. They don't necessarily really need a tight end. It's a need, but it's not one of the glaring needs that the Cowboys have. But when you have talent like that on the board, you go and get your guy. So I think that they are definitely going to take Kyle Pitts at number 10. Number 11, the Giants. The Giants need an edge rusher, and who else but Kwity Paye, edge rusher out of the University of Michigan. I know Bernie knows a lot about Kwity Paye. He's an amazing player, amazing edge rusher. I think he would go great in with the Giants defense, who's actually pretty decent. The Giants had a shot at the playoffs for most of the season, and in a really weak NFC East division, Kwity Paye could eat easily. You have some really talented young defensive linemen in that league, such as Chase Young, who just won the Defensive Rookie of the Year. Just add another one with Kwity Paye. Number 12, I'm going with my homeboy from the University of South Carolina. This is the San Francisco 49ers pick. And you look at some of the 49ers picks the last couple years. Deebo Samuel back in, 2018 or 2019. You have Javon Kinlaw going this year to the 49ers. J.C. Horn. The 49ers need a cornerback, and I'm telling you, J.C. Horn is a guy that plays tough, he plays physical, and he covers some of the best wide receivers in the game with such intensity without drawing the flags, too. That's another thing. He had 2 picks this season for the Gamecocks. He hadn't had picks all his career. He only had 2. He finished with 2 in his whole career, but I think that attributes to nobody wants to throw against J.C. Horn. Obviously, his dad, Joe Horn, played in the NFL. He has that in his blood. He's a baller. He's a guy that is going to make a huge difference for the 49ers, as every other Gamecock player has done so far. So 49ers are going to take quarterback JC Horn. 13, Los Angeles Chargers. Protect your assets. Protect Justin Herbert, obviously winning the Offensive Rookie of the Year, despite my push for I think it should have been easily Justin Jefferson, but that's another topic. Rashawn Slater, tackle from Northwestern. You got to protect your assets. You got to protect Justin Herbert, and that's exactly what the Chargers are going to do here. They're going to take an O-tackle. I just picked Slater because he's the best, in my opinion, out of the tackles that are still left on the board, but who knows? Next up, the Minnesota Vikings. They need an offensive tackle. They need guys to be able to help their rushing game with Dalvin Cook because he's one of the best running backs in the game. Samuel Cosme out of Texas. I think that's going to be your guy that Minnesota's going to take. Now looking at number 15. This kid's a baller too. This is a huge steal. This guy is going to be a huge steal in this draft this season. Guarantee it. Coming out of Penn State, the New England Patriots are going to select Mr. Micah Parsons out of Penn State. He's one of the smartest players in college football, period. He's a linebacker. He's a guy that is going to lead your defense. He's going to get them set in the right looks and everything. Micah Parsons is a physical player and a guy that I think that would go great along with Bill Belichick in New England. So that's who I had them taken there. Number 16, the Arizona Cardinals. They need a quarterback too. They got to cover some big guys, especially you look at the Seahawks. You got Metcalf, Lockett. You go to the Rams. The Rams got a bunch of great guys. Who do they got? They got Cooper Kupp. They got, who else is on the Rams for receivers? Anyways, you look at the 49ers, you got Deebo Samuel, you got Brandon Ayuk, you got a ton of great talent in that NFC West division. And the Cardinals are the most disappointing team this season by far. With the amount of talent they have, they should be a really good football team. They just got to build on it. And I think Caleb Farley, cornerback out of Virginia Tech, this is also a big drop for him and a prospect that could be a lot higher at the cornerback position. Some people have him going in the top 10. I have him dropping back to the 16th position. He's going to be a steal. Build your cornerback position for that NFC West division. Looking in at number 17, the Las Vegas Raiders. You got to build that defensive line. You haven't had that real edge rusher for the Oakland Raiders. Actually, Max Crosby is, I think Crosby is a D tackle. I could be wrong about that, but even if he's already an edge rusher, just build on your line even more. Who do you got? Joseph Osai, edge rusher out of Texas, going to the Las Vegas Raiders. You got to get pressure on guys like Mahomes. You got to get pressure on guys like who do you have? The Chiefs. Yeah, the Broncos. I don't know who's going to be their quarterback. I don't know if it's still going to be Drew Lock or not. You got the Chargers, Justin Herbert. You got to get pressure on him. That's who I was missing. And then obviously you're not going to go rush your own quarterback for the Raiders. Number 18, the Miami Dolphins. You already got your big offensive guy. You got Jamar Chase, but why not double down on the offensive position? Add a running back. The Dolphins need a running back. They need a running back. And of course, I'm going to take who I think is by far the best running back in this draft. A lot of people will disagree with me, but Najee Harris, a physical runner, a guy who can do it all, catch the ball. He's great out of the backfield, and we know guys who are versatile out of the backfield. You look at the guy behind me, number 22 on that jersey. Best running back in all of the NFL because he's so good at pass catching and doing so many different things. I think Najee Harris is just a bigger, more physical version of Mr. Christian McCaffrey. Even though McCaffrey is huge now and he's still very physical, Najee Harris just does some freakish things for his size and everything. So Najee Harris, I think his talent you cannot pass up on if you are the Miami Dolphins. Number 19, the Washington Football Team. I don't want to pick this player to this team because I want this guy to go to my team. He's the guy I want for my team. But again, this is not who I think this team should take. This is who I think the the football team. This is who I think the football team will take in this draft, and that is going to be quarterback out of Alabama, just won a national championship, Heisman runner-up, Mr. Mac Jones. One of the best deep ball passers in all of the NFL. In all of college football this season, if not the best. This guy has talent upon talent upon talent. He just needs to get used to the NFL level, and I think you got yourself a baller. Yes, he's not going to be the most agility-wise guy. He's not going to be a Patrick Mahomes who's going to scramble around the pocket for 497 yards like he did in the Super Bowl. He's not going to be a Justin Fields who's really good on his feet. but he has such deep ball accuracy, and I think that's going to help a lot for the Washington football team. And you got some decent receivers on that team. Don't get me wrong. Terry McLaurin is a really, really good wide receiver, and I think he would go great in Washington. Next, coming up at number 20, we're going to my favorite team. My favorite team out of Chicago, the Chicago Bears. I want a quarterback. I want a quarterback so bad. I don't want Carson Wentz. I don't want to give up 2 first-rounders for Carson Wentz. I don't want to give up 3 first-rounders for Deshaun Watson. But that's not the smart move here. This is what I would do. Honestly, this pick is what I would do, and this is what the Bears should do, and I expect them to do. Otherwise, unless you have a really good quarterback like Mac Jones sitting around in this draft, you got to build on that offensive line. Our offensive line is not good. We need an offensive lineman 110%. There's no quarterback to reach for at this point. You might maybe give a single glimpse at Kyle Trask, but I still think that that's way too far of a reach. You're going for an offensive tackle out of Virginia Tech in Christian Darrisaw. Yeah, Darrisaw. Sorry, I just had a mental lapse. The Bears need offensive tackles. They need offensive linemen. We cannot get a quarterback in Chicago if he has no protection. We cannot get a running game going with David Montgomery, who, trust me, this guy, David Montgomery, is an amazing running back. He just needs to have the holes. Towards the end of the season, when the Bears finally got decent on the offensive line, there's still tons of improvement. But when you saw the Bears' offensive line start to get decent, David Montgomery started to have a ton of rushing games over 100 yards. And I think the Bears definitely, it is the smart thing. Yes, it's not going to be your flashy, sexy pick that's going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. You're not going to get that quarterback that everyone's going to buy on the back of their jerseys. You're going to draft an offensive lineman, but it is what needs to happen for the Chicago Bears. Coming in at number 21, the Indianapolis Colts, wide receiver. They did draft Michael Pittman out of USC last season, but I think they still need to stack up on that wide receiver position. Rashod Bateman, wide receiver out of Minnesota, one of the better wide receivers in this class, 110%. He is definitely a first-round worthy pick, and I think that he goes to the Indianapolis Colts right here. Number 22, the Tennessee Titans. You have Derrick Henry, one of the best running backs in all of the NFL. And what else can you do to add on to that? Get some better offensive linemen, especially interior offensive linemen, to make sure he has those holes up the middle and everything, because he's a big physical guy who's going to run up the middle all the time. But when you could get him holes, that's when you start to see big Derrick Henry plays. You have out of USC, Elijah Vera Tucker for the USC Trojans. I think that he's the go-to guy for the Titans. You got to build that line. You got to get the rushing game with Henry even more physical than it already is. 23, the New York Jets. You already take Zach Wilson. You double down on the offense. Yes, you could be looking at a wide receiver here. There's one guy that jumps out to me, but I don't think they reach for him this high. And when you got this guy sitting around, this guy is from Clemson. This is a guy that probably is the only guy from Clemson that I like as a South Carolina fan, and that is Travis Etienne, running back out of Clemson. You need a running back Frank Gore's your running back right now for the Jets. You have some offensive weapons. I know they went out and drafted Mims last season, but honestly, a rushing game helps a rookie quarterback almost more than a wide receiver does, because when you're able to rely on a rushing game, the passing game opens up way more, and I think that will help Zach Wilson as a young quarterback a lot more than any wide receiver could. So I think Travis Etienne would be a very smart pick for the Jets here. Number 24, you got the Pittsburgh Steelers. They need O-lineman. Jalen Mayfield out of Michigan. I think that is a smart pick there. Just build up on your line. Get Roethlisberger or whoever is going to be your quarterback, and then the coming years some protection. I think it's just a smart thing to do. There's no one. Running back, you need a running back for the Steelers. There's no one after I have Harris and Etienne going out. There's no one that really jumps out at you, so I think offensive tackle is a move that cannot go wrong here. You look at number 25, Jacksonville Jaguars. They need someone to catch the ball for Trevor Lawrence. You just drafted Trevor Lawrence. Who do they have? They have DJ Chark. You just drafted Laviska Shenault last season. I think you add a great pass catcher in Terrace Marshall, another LSU guy on that wide receiver corps. I think he will do absolutely amazing. Give it the second LSU wide receiver in this first round of the draft. I think that Terrace Marshall is an amazing move here for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Going into pick number 26, we are almost wrapping up. Just get the line going. Let those guys eat. Create more holes or whatever you want to call it. take attention away from Myles Garrett or take attention towards Myles Garrett. So then you had this guy coming off the edge to go out and sack the quarterback a few times. Gregory Rousseau out of Miami, defensive end. I think that he is a real physical player, a guy that can get to the quarterback, and a guy that will be absolutely huge for the Browns in their journey to try to make a deep playoff run and make it to the Super Bowl eventually, because I think it can happen. They just got to put the right puzzle pieces together, and I think Rousseau is an amazing pick for the Cleveland Browns here. 27, this is a really good pick for the Baltimore Ravens here. Wide receiver position has been so weak for the Ravens, as much as I hate to say it, because I love Hollywood Brown. It's been weak for the Baltimore Ravens. It has been very, very weak. They need better wide receivers, and who else to take but an athletic freak, a guy who is going to beat you with his feet, a really good route runner in Kadarius Toney. If you watched any of the Senior Bowl highlights, you saw him, yes, he dropped this pass, but you saw him absolutely break a corner. The corner looked like a chicken running with his head cut off. Kadarius Toney, South Carolina's gone up against him multiple times. Very dangerous player, a guy that I do not want to be going up against if I'm a cornerback or I'm on the opposite side of the ball of him. So I think that they're definitely going to go for Kadarius Toney. New Orleans Saints, they need a linebacker, in my opinion, and they're going to go for, excuse me if I get this name wrong because it is a very long name, Jermaine OWUSU KORAMOAH. I think that's how you pronounce it. I've heard his name multiple times, but you just forget it because he's on Notre Dame. Made the playoffs, obviously. I watched a bunch of Notre Dame games this season just because of the media attention they got. Just build on that New Orleans defense. You saw they got run over sometimes on defense this year. Like, the opposing offenses ran them over sometimes this season. Saints need to get better at stopping rushing games, and I think that that's a huge factor when you have linebackers that don't let them get into that last resort of the quarterbacks and secondaries in your defense. Coming in at number 9, the Green Bay Packers. I think that the Green Bay Packers, even though this pick is probably the furthest reach of this whole draft, I think that is absolutely necessary because you don't pick this position last year. And of course, I'm talking about the wide receiver position. Rodgers needs help. Rodgers needs help. Even though I'm a Bears fan, I can even see it. Rodgers needs tons of help. He won the MVP this season, even though wide receiver, Rondale Moore out of Purdue. I think that he's the go-to guy. He's the next best wide receiver on this board. You have to go for him. You need a wide receiver to help out Aaron Rodgers on this team. Other than that, the Green Bay Packers are a very, very fundamentally sound football team. They just need wide receivers, and it's a reach pick, but it's a necessary reach pick. You have to go for it. Number 30, Buffalo Bills. This is a player that I really like, a guy that is a very, very talented player, a guy that's going to lead your defense, who in a Bills team that had a very good defense this year, or I wouldn't say very good, but they made plays when they had to sometimes. I think that there just needs to be an addition on the linebacker position of this ball team. Of course, I'm talking about linebacker from Mizzou, Mr. Nick Bolton. I went up against him. The South Carolina Gamecocks went up against him this season. He led that Missouri defense. They're a very good team. Nick Bolton is one of the smartest players that you will see in the game. He's very physical, strong guy. I think that he would go great in Buffalo and add to their run to try to make it to the Super Bowl. 31, the Kansas City Chiefs. How does anyone watch that Super Bowl game, see the stats after the game, like the next-gen stats and everything, and not say, like, how does anyone in that Chiefs organization say, we need any other position other than offensive linemen? Absolutely necessary, especially interior offensive linemen. I think that is a huge, huge need for the Kansas City Chiefs. You could also throw a wide receiver in there. There's no one to reach for right now in this. There's no one to reach for here. Yes, you had tons of drops in the Super Bowl, but your wide receiver position, you got Tyreek Hill, you got Travis Kelce, you got McCole Hardman. You are going to be just fine wide receiver-wise. Guarantee you. Take Wyatt Davis out of Ohio State, a huge body, inside interior lineman for the Kansas City Chiefs. Take him, protect Mahomes, protect your assets. You're willing to dump, what was it, $500 million or something on Patrick Mahomes. Protect your assets. Do it. Do it, Kansas City. You don't need any more skill players. Just go for Wyatt Davis. You need a big body up front. You need guys who are going to protect your assets in Patrick Mahomes. Last pick, the Super Bowl champions, number 32, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A dominant defensive line, but why not add to what you're already strong at? I think that that's what the Chiefs kind of did last season. Even though running back position wasn't a real strength of the Kansas City Chiefs, the offense as a whole was a strength going into that draft, and they still took Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They still took an offensive player. Add Ojulari from Georgia. Azeez Ojulari from Georgia. I've watched this kid play a lot. I'm telling you, just make that defensive line stronger. Like, I'm telling you, JPP had a great Super Bowl. You had Ndamukong Suh have a great Super Bowl. Shaq Barrett probably had the best out of those three players. Why not add to the line? And your linebacker position is built. Your secondary has been playing amazing. Your offense is going to be fine. Just build on the defensive line. Take Ojulari and run with it and go try to win another Super Bowl. So that is my mock draft for what I think that teams will do in this draft. For this upcoming NFL draft, I will do my personal opinions, and it's going to be a different mock draft. So definitely stick around for that. But I had a great time filming this video. Tons of more draft content coming up. I cannot wait to show you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, though. Hit that comment button, subscribe, like the video. Thank you for watching, and definitely come back next time.